So where I left off, I was talking about the legislators. Yes, the legislators are passing laws which legalize and legally protect infringements. Do they realize they're doing that? Well, as I sat there in Bill C-11 committee and Bill C-32 committee before that, there's very little evidence that the politicians understand the technology that they are passing laws about at all. So, is it the moral equivalent of ISO, Hunt, and Pirate Bay? Well, do the Pirate Bay and ISO Hunt actually recognize the any harm that they're doing? Do they essentially believe, like many people do, that any sharing of information non-commercially, well, that's just beneficial to the copyright holder? We can get into long debates about that. I don't happen to agree with that philosophy, but it's a philosophy that is there. But they probably at least recognize that what they're enabling citizens to do is an infringement of property. Do the politicians even recognize that there is for owners to be concerned with, and that these things are, the laws that they're passing are enabling acts of infringement of the owners of these devices? I'm not yet convinced. I'm not going to suggest that ignorance is an excuse. Ignorance of the law is not an excuse, so ignorance of a technology shouldn't be an excuse for lawmakers. But I do think it's incumbent upon us to do whatever we can to educate the legislators to make them realize the infringements that they're enabling, that they're causing more harm than the problem that they're allegedly trying to solve. So, at the end of the day, what are the people who are proponents of these technical measures that actually do understand the technology? What are they actually asking for? Well, if you get past all the layers of theft and other wacky rhetoric, it turns out that what they'd like to do is to mirror what they had with the theaters, where a copyright holder, say a movie, as an example, they would authorize certain theaters to be able to play their movies. The theater would own all of the technology that would then be used to project the sound in the video. The audience would come in. The audience wouldn't own any of the technology. They would come in, they'd be able to see the picture, they'd be able to hear the sound, they'd be able to eat the popcorn, whatever. But that theater owner owned all of that, and the audience then didn't have to worry about things like the property rights. That was somebody else's problem. Well, an equivalent in the home theater world would be, again, for the platform to be owned and for the technology that goes into people's homes to be rented. So we have relationships where the owner and the person who's using it are different. For instance, in housing, we have very different laws which regulate home ownership versus rentals. We have a whole Landlord-Tenant Act, interesting, another provincial jurisdiction issue, another set of provincial laws, which regulate those relationships and recognize that even though you're the owner, you don't have absolute control, that there's various rights that the renter has, that all of those types of details are worked out. So there's a non-infringing way to have a home theater experience where the technology is owned by the home theater company, and that technology is then rented by the audience. Because as the owners, they retain the locks to what they own, and the person renting shouldn't expect to have all the locks to things that they don't own. They just expect to be able to watch those movies. But as soon as you claim that you're selling something to someone, and that someone is then an owner, they expect that the relationship is regulated in an entirely different way, and it's totally dishonest, and again, enables acts of direct and secondary infringement to essentially lie to people and say that you are selling them the hardware. But notice that there is a way for them to get what they want, a home theater experience, much like a traditional theater experience, without infringing anybody's rights. So why is it that they just don't do it the non-infringing way? Why is it that they claim that the only way for copyright holders to get any money is if they infringe the rights of technology owners? This is complete nonsense, and we should be rejecting it out of hand. We should say that we have absolutely no respect for that position whatsoever. They can have what they actually want in an honest way that does not infringe anybody's rights. And that's the direction that they should be taking. So we, in the presentation, we went on to comments, questions, discussions. Fortunately, that was the longest part of it. I have some ideas in the slides. We headed in a wide variety of interesting directions. I would suggest that if we want to have, if you're interested in these videos, if this was interesting to you, if you have any questions, send me an email at russell@c11.ca. If you want to see my blogging, I've been blogging at c11.ca. That includes posting for each of the meetings for C11 and C32 committees. I attended nearly all of the meetings in person and sat there in the back of the room tweeting, and I sent up a blog posting afterwards. But if you'd like to continue this discussion, add some comments at the end of the video, underneath the videos, or send me an email, and we'll go from there. Thanks very much.